5 years ago, I bought the worst clean title manual LP640 coupe in the United States. 3 years ago, I bought the worst manual LP640 Roadster in the United States. Crashed 3 times, spray painted, awful. And last year, I bought the worst Diablo SV on earth out of Japan, a Yakuza gangster modified car, a total basket case. But all three have generally made it where I wanted to go in them. There's been a few issues over the years, but there's a lot of cans that I kicked down the road. And 2 months ago, I dropped all 3 cars off to Cameron Davis and the team at DC Motorworks for them to do all of the things that I have been neglecting for so long. And today is the day of reckoning. I picked up the Verde Draco LP640 Coupe a few days ago. It's been driving beautifully, making great power. And today I'm headed to DC Motorworks to pick up the black LP640 Roadster and the now orange Diablo SV. I truly cannot wait. It's been an amazing journey and they've done so much more than I ever expected to need to do, but I'm about to find out exactly how badly that's going to hurt. So me and Cameron are about to drive the cars from DC Motorworks back here to the Vinwicki garage and find out what the damage is.
Now, when it comes to supercar ownership, I live in the margin between absolutely unacceptable and okay. I'm not chasing good, great, or perfect, or going to Concours. I just want a car that's good enough that I can use it and take it somewhere. Now, in my experience, that tends to be a rather profitable margin of car ownership, but in reality, it's the only way that I can personally afford to own, use, and enjoy the cars that I grew up dreaming about on posters and Top Gear and everything else that we came to love. But that requires a degree of mechanical sympathy, meaning that I can't just toss somebody the keys to one of my cars without explaining to them all of the extra things that you have to worry about and the things that you shouldn't worry about that most logical car owners and drivers would. And so they've got error lights on, they've got needs, and there's been a lot of things on kind of the mechanical punch list that I've been kicking down the road. They misfire, they stall, they don't start sometimes, they have problems, lights, all the things, but it's now catching up with me, let's say. The clutch on the green car has been slipping for years. It's been misfiring since I drove it home from Scottsdale 5 years ago. I've had this now for 3 years and the Diablo for a year, and both of them have a lot of needs. They put a lot of fluids on the floor, and sometimes they do misbehave. And so I'm here at DC Motorworks in Alpharetta, Georgia, and Cameron and his team have been taking care of a lot of my cars, from the craziness of the TVR to some Lambo work, because the expertise on aging V12 Lamborghinis is dwindling around the country. And so I've been trying to graduate him up from his white belt to his blue belt to his green belt. I don't know how belts work, but I'm here to give him the test for his black belt. The goal is to bring all of these cars up to no more mechanical excuses, a status that never really made sense until they went up in value and until I kind of got in a position where, hopefully, depending on how much he wants to gouge me out of these new Lambo parts, I'll be able to afford it. And so, yeah, I think the team is up for the job. Over the last year, I think he's had a dozen or so V12 Lambos through, and these 3 are now going to go up on the lifts, and we're going to figure out how bad they are. What's up?
Mr. Bolian, how are you?
Good to be back.
Yes, as always.
Man. The much cleaner Ford GT, always a lot of fun things around, and more Lambos of late, which makes me very happy. And I've got 3 of them here for you.
Yes, we're super excited. We always have a couple floating around, but we always enjoy the ones from Mr. Bolian.
Well, let's pull this one in and see how much we're going to need to do.
Sounds great. You want to do the honors?
I shall. All 3 of them in here.
Yes, very exciting to me to see all the Lambos.
What have you gotten us into this time?
Oh, well, I decided we do a lot of Mercedes around here and wanted to brighten up the shop a little bit with some bright Lambos.
He says it's going to be a quick in and out. I mean, I'm probably back in a few days to pick them up.
That sounds reasonable with Lamborghini.
A couple days, we'll do our normal Mercedes work, all the fun stuff. We'll get it done.
But, you know, I know Andy's the real business partner, but I feel like we could use another partner in this evaluation.
That sounds great. What do you have in mind?
My ears are burning, and that usually only happens under one condition, is when you're about to reveal some very depressing news to a prominent YouTuber.
Yes, I feel like I need the beard of knowledge to help me through this.
David, good to see you, sir.
Good to see you.
Welcome. So we're going to walk through what I know is wrong with all these cars, and then what that probably means else is wrong.
Right.
Now, the Diablo has been here most recently, and generally, you went through that car, did a lot to it. Let me show you a couple things. The most inconvenient thing at the moment is that both of the interior door latches have broken. So you have to leave the windows down so that you can reach out to press this to exit the vehicle. Also, we've had some issues with the lighting in the rear because all of the wires were crossed.
Yes.
So these are technically in the wrong spots, not a hugely challenging thing, but the reversing lights make the brake lights come on.
Right.
And so I think we still have a few little operation things to do there.
That's because in Lambos, we only go forward.
Well, that's important. And they're not going to miss me. Now, when it left here, it was green. Thanks to Rob Pitts and the guys at Netflix, it is now sort of painted orange. It does leak a meaningful amount of oil, like a whole lot of oil. And
Wow.
so I've been topping it off. But if we could do anything to remedy that, I know my garage floor would appreciate it and probably the environment. So let's maybe look into that. Apart from that, I don't care about making it cosmetically nice. I love driving the car. It has behaved itself apart from smelling oily. So I think this is going to be as easy as these two.
Andy will keep the Zamboni charged up for the garage floor. We'll make sure of that.
Excellent.
We'll send it home with you. How about that?
But overall, I mean, the car shifts great. The clutch is great. Now, that can't be said for the Mercies. So the clutch has been slipping on the Verde Draco 07 Coupe since we shot Car Trek almost 3 years ago.
Yeah.
You can get it places, but if you're going to really, really push it, that's not necessarily the thing. Now, sometimes you think you have these supercars and you can drive like your hair's on fire all the time. When you buy them in the state that I do, that's not realistic. You can choose your moments, get them warm, make sure everything's as okay as it is ever going to be, and then have a lot of fun. But you kind of have to drive around some things. And so the Draco car definitely needs a clutch, which probably means it needs a throwout bearing.
Yes.
And if we're going to pull the motor, based on the age, it probably needs a valve adjustment. So you got to shim them up, I guess. You've learned about this. But at the same time, I know that's quite expensive and quite invasive. So obviously that means cheap, and that's what I'm looking for. It also makes a really strange whine in gear at speed that is somewhat rotational that I assume has to do with the torque tube drive shaft setup.
It doesn't come from behind the steering wheel?
No. I do whine about a lot of things, but I accept my fate. It's probably time to replace some of the missing interior panels. We should put a radio in the car. The steering wheel is matted beyond what I've been able to recover with my brushes and things of that nature. It also smells quite oily, so we're probably leaking oil from various places.
At least you know there's oil in it.
That one starts all the time. Now, I know when you have the engine out of a V12 Lambo, you're supposed to do a starter because it's easier.
Yes.
But this one, lately, about half the time, doesn't start on the first try. Both of the locks don't work. We don't worry about the locks
We don't worry
on Lambos. I wouldn't suggest that we address that. This one's got some body fitment issues that we're not really going to address. It's lived a very hard life through its 3 accidents and has given me, plenty of problems. There's also random wires everywhere. So as you go through it and as you take it apart, the more wires that don't go places we know that could not be in there at the end, I think it'd be better. I don't know what that green light is still.
Sounds like the
We took out
Diablo.
the thumbprint start thing that they had. We took out the safe for pew-pew things that you did not talk about on YouTube. But the radio doesn't work. The door doesn't recognize that it's latched. The speaker rattles really badly.
This list is getting longer than I remembered.
But the price is going up.
Yes, yeah.
It's all, shot fixed rate. Fixed rate.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what it needs to be.
No book time?
No book time. No book time. Now, when I worked at Lamborghini Atlanta, the book time was like 40 to 45 hours to remove and reinstall an engine.
Roadsters are extra.
Oh, how much more time does it take on a Roadster?
About an extra 5 hours.
Oh, does it? Well,
Yes.
So back then we were charging about $150 an hour in the shop. Usually on a bigger job, we discount it to $100. But the quotes that I've gotten from authorized dealers of late have been $300 to $400 an hour. I hope that as you've graduated up in the ranks of Lambo service, your aspirations haven't gotten so high.
Well, I have to buy one day, and you keep making the values go up, so I got to make up for it somewhere.
Well, and that's one of the reasons why, in addition to the fact that the parts continue to go up in value, the cars, fortunately, have moved in the right direction value-wise, and it does start to make sense. I mean, the last really nice Diablo SV that Curated sold was $1 million even. The last LP640 manual coupe that sold of the 23 U.S. cars was 1.25. So back of the napkin math, if these things were perfect, which they very much are not, it's almost $4 million in Lamborghinis. Now, they're the worst of everything that exists, and I have delayed this stuff long enough that I think it does finally make sense to bite whatever the bullet is. And
Open checkbook?
no, that is absolutely not the case. They do deserve an open checkbook service, but that shan't be what we experience here, despite your best goals, dreams, and shopping for yachts or new Lambos or whatever
Right.
it is that
I told
might
Andy we were
motivate
getting a bigger boat.
you. Look at all this exposure that you're getting. The whole internet's out there.
The
Gonna
whole
be,
internet.
I mean, there's going to be a line around the block bringing Lambos in here to get serviced at DC Motor Works.
We like Lambos.
The thing that's always notorious about V12 Lamborghinis is that anything big requires the engine to come out.
Yes.
And unlike some of the Ferraris that have engine out services, it's not, I've heard, super easy.
They're very long.
Yes. There's a...
With long shafts,
The transmission, everything comes out.
so you have to take the bumper off, the rear, everything
Yes,
out.
exhaust.
Everything you see here.
Yep.
Has to come off.
Yep.
Does that mean it'll fit better when it goes back on? The three main things on both cars are clutch, throwout bearing, and valve adjustment.
Yes.
Right? Which is really what you're supposed to do. The valve adjustment, they say every 5 years, 15,000 miles. This one's got 25,000, that's got 55,000. So it's overdue.
Never
and
been done.
you know, some people say that that's not as critical, but both of the cars do routinely misfire. I'm reminded, since these didn't work well, we moved the Rams here to be nice and hot, so the wings don't work. So while you're putting them back on, you can make my wings work, and that one doesn't work either.
How'd you put them there?
We've been searching for expertise.
Just don't whine. Just do it and slip it in the bill somewhere.
Yes. Pad the bill. Pad
Yes.
the bill. Yep.
Miscellaneous shop supplies. But this one doesn't leak a lot of oil, at least none that winds up on the floor. It's probably due for a battery, but generally with a turbocharger, it'll start once the starter is overcome. So we do starters. This one, the air conditioning doesn't work, so you can work on that.
You have air conditioning.
Yeah, exactly, but it gives you a constant error. Airbag light error, usually a passenger occupancy sensor, super common on Mercies. But what else would you expect to do as you get in there?
Well, definitely the serpentine belt, because those are a pain.
Yes. In the car, they are a definite pain.
It's not expensive. It's not a big item, but trying to do it in the car, it brings people who don't curse will start cursing.
Wow.
Yeah.
There's the explosion coolant hose up against the firewall.
Yeah,
That's
over
very
there.
important.
Yep, it gets hot and brittle, and
Pretty much anything you have access to while it's on the floor, you want to do it. Because when you put it back in and something goes wrong, you don't want to pull it back out again.
right.
Well, that's fair. So, but you have access to everything. So does that mean you're going to replace everything?
With enough zeros.
With enough zeros, yes.
So if there was an open checkbook service, I want to understand what that would be, so that when I understand the value you're going to get for this promotion, we can really know what kind of savings we're representing.
I'll take a gated Gallardo and trade.
One thing I foresee, you mentioned a lot of things not working up here, and you mentioned a lot of wires being in places they shouldn't be. There may be things not even really entailed with the engine that are part of the engine, like your AC, that aren't working, that could add to the bill, that has nothing to do with the engine coming in and out.
We got to get this something reasonable, because I've got 3 of these things to recondition. So why don't you guys go inside, scheme amongst yourselves, and you can let me know what a full-blown blank check service would look like, and then we can sort of strategize from there to make it a little more palatable.
Sounds good to me.
Good deal.
We need to search anywhere, right? Sort by highest price. 1,280 miles.
Wow.
Now, I feel like I need one that's been driven a little, right? Or do I buy the nicest one I can find?
I wouldn't get one with too low of miles, because as soon as you do put some miles on it, everything's going to start leaking.
I think we're getting there. I'm at one car. We're starting at $42,000.
You know, what he paid for the cars, we could be approaching what he actually paid for them. But there's a way to counter that. Just to show him this list here that they're worth so much more now, therefore it's worth putting much more into them.
Yeah, show him the value. Let's do it. You want to grab him?
I'll go grab him.
Well, I found some interesting things that have kind of caught my eye.
No, we're
You
looking
wanna
at
help me pick a
fixing
color?
mine, not buying yours.
But But I'll make enough money to buy one.
One
when I'm
results
done.
in the
No,
other.
look, I see this. That number, $41,000. That's not enough to buy a Lambo.
I just got started.
What?
This is only one car.
That's not for all three?
No. And this is just pulling the motor.
That's it. So you're telling me that if I just dropped these cars off at a Lamborghini dealership and said, fix them whatever they need mechanically, it would be $120,000?
No, it would be more. This is the independent rate.
Wait, so if you were paying $350, $400 an hour, how much does that go up?
Almost double.
Very likely.
Plus the parts markup.
Wait, but there's list price for the parts.
Dealers don't abide by that. Dealers will mark up above list.
But there's 40% margin in most car parts. They add more?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How much is the markup?
We don't know.
We don't know what their secrets are.
Okay, so if the independent rate for this times 3 is 120, 125 grand, how much would it cost to get these things fixed at a dealership?
All three?
Yeah.
200,000 to 300,000 or more.
What?
Yeah.
See, it fits in right with... I might have to go for a different one. I'm sorry, but...
Oh, I hate to impose. Yeah. I have a worse Lambo. I mean, obviously, I want these cars to work better. I want to believe they're going to get there. I can rev a little higher and not worry so much. So, I mean, I'm going to say, yes, let's do it. But it can't be that much for all of them.
It most certainly can.
That's
I like
not
how
what
he thinks.
can means.
Yeah.
So how do you make that less?
Well, we've got some options. You know, Lamborghini couldn't exactly afford to buy or make all their own parts, so they borrowed some from other places, and we can usually decipher that and see to find those, and maybe get stuff direct from who built it for them, and we might be able to help you out a little bit.
Okay, so you guys scheme and get that number way, way down, and sounds like I'll be ready to pick them up running great next week, right?
Sounds like a plan.
All right, teach them well.
Challenge on.
Now, even though this is certainly an estimate worth crying into, the whole point of using a qualified independent shop is that we're going to find some used parts, we're going to find some cross-reference parts, we're going to find some old stock inventory at dealers around the country and get that number down to something that I can actually afford. And I've known it was coming, right? For years, I've been kicking different issues down the road and knowing that one day this would come and it was going to be time to make these cars not as nice as they deserve to be, but nicer than I've lived with them for some time. And so I'm excited to see what they can do, especially after the wizard tax is eliminated from the equation. We are going to end up with 3 Lamborghinis that are much more reliable in a much better state, and I'll be very happy because I think I'm going to keep these things forever. I love them all dearly. They are my favorite cars, manual transmission, V12 Lamborghinis, as good as it possibly gets. And so I hope it's not all this much, and if it is, then I'll have to call Premier Financial Services and do some refi. But at the end of the day, I think we're going to be okay, and he's not going to be on auto tempest rousing for his Lamborghini just yet.
So, believe it or not, Mr. Bolian, out of his 9 Murcielagos and his 1 or 2, I forget how many Diablos at this point, he has never done a major service on one of these cars. And the only way I could convince him to do this was to take the blow all at once and do them all at the same time. So that's why we've assembled the dream team here. This is my business partner, the other owner of DC Motorworks, Andy Sumner, and I've been working on him the past couple years to try and expand our Lamborghini portfolio. And what do you think about it?
So far, I've enjoyed it. My heritage is from Mercedes. That's all I've ever done. But we've gotten into it, and it's been a lot of fun. It's not that bad.
It's something different. We look at a lot of Mercedes all day, and I'm a big enthusiast of exotic cars, and this is one of the meet your heroes kind of situations with the Murcielagos, as this was the icon Lamborghini of my youth. And probably the same with Mr. Evan Eugenio here. We are trying to get him into the Lamborghinis as well because of his Italian heritage.
So I've really appreciated Cameron's efforts into trying to bring into more Lamborghini business. And again, nothing is more thoroughbred than a gated V12 from an Italian maker such as Lamborghini.
So I'm very happy to share the efforts of the labor between these 3 cars, as I could not do them very efficiently all by myself, and that's why we have the team here at DC Motorworks.
Why is that water?
We are here with the Verde Draco car and ready to pull the motor. See, we got the gantry crane set up, and the Narrow Nemesis car is right behind it and has been right in front of me or behind with our friendly banter back and forth of who was gonna win on getting the engine out, but looks like I won because I grabbed the gantry crane before him. So let's go ahead and pull this motor. That should be enough for me to roll under. I like to roll under it. As usual, it's stuck on the torque tube. Hold the handle down. All right. Do I need to go up, or what do you want me to do? All right. Okay, watch everything. Andy, I'm gonna go down. We're free.
So I got a call from Cameron, and he said that the engines on the LP640s were coming out today, but with the worst bedside manner ever, he said he found some scary surprises. So I guess we've got something to talk about, and hopefully nothing to add to my list of parts. Wow.
Mr. Bolian.
Look at that. Holy cow. It's it's out. Oh.
Yeah, we were all taking turns going for Lamborghini rides. And when's the last time you saw one like this?
Since I was at the dealership. I have not had to pull the motors on any of these so far, which is why it sounds like there's a little more on our shopping list.
Yes, there were some additions as we went along. We found some loose hardware. You can see on the torque tube here, those are not supposed to be jingling around.
Finger tight's just all right.
Yeah, speaking of not so tight, the axle on the right rear here was not tight either. Along that, we had some hoses that are rubber that are now plastic, so they broke in very short order. The AC compressor, yeah, we're gonna have to get you a new one of those too. So it looks like someone took the mantra of cross-thread is better than Loctite, and cross-threaded the AC line there, and the threads are all chewed up.
They are boogered. Well, how much is a new AC compressor?
I think they went over $3 grand for it.
$3,000. But there's like a Geo Metro.
Yeah. We'll figure something out.
Excellent, excellent.
The oil was a little darker than I expected.
Really?
Yeah,
I mean, I think I only put 3,000 to 4,000 miles on it last year. So,
Man.
I mean, I change it every year, as we should.
Well, you know.
But I guess we'll find out the condition because you're about to get it considerably more apart than this, right?
Yes, but there's more.
Oh, okay.
Yes, there is more. You see all these little bearings right there?
That doesn't look.
You see there's some missing here?
Oh, yeah. What?
There should be bearings all the way around.
Oh, there's a lot less. Where did they go?
Yes. So they are no longer there.
So that would have.
Should I have felt it binding?
You should have heard some crunchy noises.
I mean, it makes a lot of noises.
Yeah, when the exhaust is that loud, you know, it's
Yeah.
you can't quite hear everything. And also, I know we've talked about the exciting starter motors on these.
Yes.
But this one was the opposite of loose hardware. It was over-tightened. What happened with that one, I know I'm getting you your workout today, is it broke.
I guess we were planning on doing it anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just exciting things. But you
While
know,
we're in there.
Yeah, that's the theme of this operation, isn't it?
Hello.
That's a good noise.
Hello. Cameron. Make it cheaper. It's not expensive.
Sorry, he's speaking another language. I didn't quite understand what was happening there.
Yeah,
There was a little more oil residue in the intake than I normally see, but haven't seen one with 55,000 miles on it, so maybe that's just a thing.
That's it. And we don't yet know the condition of my clutch other than we've felt it slip.
No, it doesn't feel very good, so I'm excited to see what that looks like. You had this hose here. This is the what we call explosion hose. And
It's not exploded.
It hasn't exploded, but you can see there's...
It was thinking about it.
It's trying. Along with a couple other hoses. Your power steering hose is doing the same thing. It has a crack. It could have very easily left you with no power steering and no front lift because it runs that.
Same fluid, but that would have been, that's the one that catches cars on fire.
Because it lives
Right.
here.
Over the
So
hot
over
part.
alternator and hot catalytic converter that lives right there. So that could have been a,
You could have been a very good thumbnail if you kept driving this.
It worked well for Tyler Hoover.
Bill will be increasing.
No,
Just a tad.
flat rate.
Next, we'll get it on the ground. We'll get
Yes.
it mounted. We'll start pulling the valve covers and everything, and all of this that lives atop here.
Well, at least it's not an E-Gear car.
Yeah, that does save me a good bit of time. That is for sure.
I'm just looking out for you. Well, good work. I'm sure you're not done for the day, so I'll get out of your hair and not watch you do this, because I'm sure that would not be the finest example of how the sausage gets made. But I appreciate everything, and 30, 40, 50% discount feels where we're headed.
Did you see who he was talking to?
Hey, he acknowledged it. We got proof.
Oh,
Thank you, sir.
thank you. I'll send you the updated bill.
Don't worry about that. It's all gonna come together.
Deja vu? Let's do it. Not getting much.
No.
Did it pull back at all?
No. Okay, yep. I've got a little bit of an air gap at the bottom.
Does that do anything?
Yes. Gap is getting bigger. I've got a tiniest bit of air gap down here. Maybe like 2 mil air gap all the way around. I think it's gonna pop out now. There, oh, yep. Got a huge gap. Yep, almost there. I see the splines. Almost, yep, we're out.
Okay. Yeah, we're clear. It's coming. I hear it peeing. Everything for me looks fine. We'll go up. You ready?
Yep.
Clear. That one went way easier. So both drivetrains from the Murciélagos are out and on the floor, and believe it or not, that's actually the easy part. So now the hard part begins of pulling the intake manifolds, pulling the valve covers, pulling the timing covers, inspecting what the valve clearance looks like and what shims we need to order to correct that. And I'm super excited to see what it looks like on the highest mileage manual LP640 in existence at 55,000 miles. And also what the clutch looks like, because that one was not feeling so hot. This one felt pretty good still at 25,000 miles, but we'll get some good comparisons.
All right, these clutches, after we install them, need about 1,000 miles of braking period, and I will be more than happy to do that braking period. I'll be very gentle in the car. Very gentle on the car.
On both?
On at least one, I can promise that.
You can see we've made some progress off camera here. There's a lot of disassembly that happened here. We've got the intake over there, the valve covers, the front timing covers. You can also see the transmission is removed at this point. And we have now affixed our factory Lamborghini tool. This is the official Lamborghini tool to turn the engine over so we can check the valve clearance and see if we're going to need to get some shims and remove the cams out of this engine. And we've also, of course, got the clutch out here. Much to my surprise, it's actually in pretty good shape. So we're not even close to the rivets. I'm actually gotta commend Mr. Bolian, as this is probably the cleanest and least heat-scorched flywheel and pressure plate that I've seen in one of these. Usually you'll see kind of these blue spots. This is smooth heat. A lot of times you'll see like big blue spots. You can see that with Mr. Bolian's 9 of these that he's had over the years that he knows how to drive them. So next step, like I said, I'm gonna go to each of the 48 valves and measure the valve clearance. And I've got this template here in order to write down all of my measurements, because 48 measurements is a lot to keep up with, and this is the actual diagram of this engine. So what I'll do is measure each intake and exhaust valve and write that down and discuss with Mr. Bolian of what is next to get this up to par. Before we do that, why don't we check in on Mr. Eugenio and see how he's doing on the Narrow Nemesis car.
All right, guys, so I'm still trying to keep up with Cameron. He is kind of hogging the single man use tools at the moment, so I'm just trying to do what I can in the meantime. I've got the new crank seal installed. There was evidence of just a little bit of seepage right about in this area, but I've already cleaned it off, so you can't really tell that at this point. but I'm not gonna have a rear main seal leak any further. And I do have some hot spotting on the flywheel over here. So this is the flywheel, and as you can see, there is a good amount of hot spotting that Cameron's higher mileage car did not have. And that's why mileage varies when it comes to your clutch life, because it's all down to the driver. All right, guys, as soon as Cameron's finished up, I'll try to take back the lead and see how we go.
Andy's a little bit behind us on the Diablo, but he's hard at work still, so he's catching up. But now comes the very exciting part of ordering all the additional parts and surprises that we have found. But unfortunately, we have ran into quite the timeline dilemma right over here on the parts table. So you see there are a lot of new parts on this table, but most importantly here are the clutch kits. Lamborghini does package these very well. You can see they come in this nice crate here with the Lamborghini script on it. But one thing we always like to do here at DC Motorworks is inspect our parts. We found some, I guess, shipping damage on these clutches, and because of their cost and how much labor is involved and so forth, it was a calculated decision to get different ones. Because on a car like this, you do not want to take any chances. So now we have to wait for a new clutch kit to come from Italy. So now I have to make the difficult phone call of calling Mr. Bolian and telling him that he's unfortunately not going to get his favorite cars back in the timely manner that we had originally planned.
You rang, sir.
Yes, we have some things to discuss. I have some news.
And you said it was not the kind of news that I like?
No. I know we've talked about the bill a couple times, and I think this one's gonna head north a little bit. There's lots of stuff kicked down the road on these.
Yes, so we're gonna need to really pinch some pennies, but tell me what we need.
That's a list.
Well, why don't you just kind of walk me around and show me the problems that we are now in the need to fix?
AC compressor.
Okay.
We need 2 of those. The AC lines were seized to the fittings, and so yeah, need new ones of those.
So you can find a cheaper cross-reference part?
Yes, but the AC lines are on back order.
Does that mean you have to make them?
Pretty much. We have a guy.
We got a guy. Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
The fluids were rather shocking. They were a little gross.
I mean, I change them every year, but
See, there's some fuzzy stuff on the magnet there.
it seems like a lot of fuzziness to me. I mean, you've done a lot of Lambo oil changes
Yes, yeah.
so far. Is that much
about normal.
About normal. Okay.
Yeah, about normal.
I'll take about normal on a 56,000 mile LP640.
I know we talked about starters.
Yep.
So those are 7,000 a piece. We've sent them to be rebuilt. So.
Oh, okay. Is that a thing? That's like an okay thing to do?
Yes. Bosch makes parts for them. They just don't sell you the whole starter anymore.
Okay. All right. Well, how much is a rebuild?
I don't know yet.
Okay.
I'm sure there'll be a Lamborghini tax on that, but they just said send it on down and we'll fix it for you.
Great. The biggest question, how are our valves?
They are valving, but yeah, that is one thing that needs to be done. You have a couple valves, we'll just say a couple, that are a little on the tight side, and we don't want them on the tight side necessarily.
To do this, I presume this, and this has to come off, so this comes out, and then we're, yeah?
Yeah, there's a few more steps. You know, the tensioner has to come out, the cam variators have to come out. You have to time the motor, obviously, and pull the cams out. And be very careful pulling the cams out because you don't want to tweak them in one direction.
No, I'd rather you not.
If you snap a camshaft, that's $2,500 each.
Okay. $10,000 worth of camshafts right here. Again, as we discussed with the fuzziness, is that the right amount of wear? Is that an acceptable amount of wear? Are we being stupid to put them back in after we take them out?
That's acceptable. Even one with 3,000 miles looked very similar to that.
How was the clutch?
Better than I expected.
I mean, it slipped a lot.
Yes. We have a couple theories there.
Okay.
The throwout bearing seemed to have maybe a little bit of water intrusion.
Okay.
And you
Water
could
happens.
have some weak springs on your pressure plate.
But the thickness was still good?
Yes. I think it had 1.3 millimeters of wear. It wasn't bad at all.
Mercy clutches work with a wear range of about 7.5 millimeters, and I've seen them go up to 10 millimeters of wear on an e-gear car that has a clutch position sensor that measures the wear constantly. So you're saying that I've put over 20,000 miles on this car, and I know the clutch wasn't new when I got it. So this clutch, from a wear perspective, was on its way to have a 100,000-mile life?
With your driving style.
Well,
So-
that's flattering to say. Okay, so we've got a new throwout bearing going in. We got a new clutch going in. We've got, I presume, all the hoses and things that are likely to crack.
Should we talk about the delay of the clutches while we're here?
Sure.
They're I had to get new ones.
You had to get new clutches.
New clutches, yes.
What was wrong with the old new clutches?
Some kind of manufacturing or shipping damage.
What?
Yes. Here is your nice new clutch.
I love the Muffin Tin organization.
It's fabulous, isn't it? This is your assembly here.
Okay.
It's quite a thing. This side is more or less fine. But it looks like when they made these, they set something on top of it. So there's a couple nicks in there.
Okay.
On both.
On both. Okay.
This is the way it's meant to be.
Oh.
I would think they set two flywheels on top of each other. Incorrectly.
Okay.
And it's a lot of work, and it's a lot of money. So,
yes, they are.
We
not,
want it to be right for you.
Yeah,
so.
there's no, Chevrolet cross product there.
No.
All right, so we got my throttle bodies getting cleaned, I guess.
Yeah, we can do
And
it.
this seems not the way it's supposed to look on the coil.
No.
What makes that happen?
More water. Are you sure this is a clean title car, Ed?
It's a clean title, clean Carfax car. It's immaculate. In addition to a couple valves being off, this is a much more likely culprit for my intermittent misfiring.
Very. Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, water and spark do not mix.
So speaking of spark, did you just throw the old plugs away?
No, they're over here, and they're a little.
A little iffy. Oh
Sorry
my
for
goodness
my,
gracious! They are gunky and gross.
Yeah, this is the orange ring you see there. That's voltage leakage through the ceramic there. So
Voltage leakage sounds like the recipe for a fire.
sparky
Okay.
things and water don't go together. So
All right,
yeah, we
but
could,
so far everything you've said feels like the anticipated news. What is this bad news?
that's over here on the
Oh,
black car.
On the black car.
Yeah, the nice one, right?
Well, by some standards.
But yeah, kind of the same thing here. This one has 3 valves that are out of adjustment.
Out of 48, that's not bad.
It's a pretty good percentage. It's a passing grade, right? No huge surprises until we get over here.
To the transmissions?
Yes.
What's wrong with my transmissions?
You see,
That
see our teeth here?
Yep.
You see back here, there's a little more teeth.
Yes.
So
The
there's
teeth are supposed to be the same all the way to the edge?
yes, they should be consistent. Kind of like your input shaft here on the green car transmission.
Right.
So we saw that, and so we looked at the diff side, and it's much worse than that.
So I know what that is. A lot of times these cars get two-wheel drive converted, and that means that they remove the torque tube or they put a support on the torque tube, and they take out the front axles and the front diff.
Yes.
And when they put them back in to sell them, they don't tighten them well enough.
Uh-huh.
That's what happened to the green car. So I have bought one of those in the last year, used, and a used diff. I've bought, now it sounds like I'm about to have to buy a third Mercy diff.
Yeah, you're one hard launch from grenading that front diff.
And I have
Or
grenaded
becoming
them.
two-wheel drive, you know.
Yeah, which, because, a lot of people like two-wheel drive cars in general. I do as well. But these cars were designed around the idea of being all-wheel drive. There is a meaningful rearward weight bias due to the size of the engine and the layout of the car. And so I don't like the way that they drive rear-wheel drive converted, and I want to maintain the all-wheel drive factory setup,
It's much
which
better
at the
that way.
moment is going to cost me money. Do they make new diffs?
Yes.
How much are they?
I think it was somewhere in the realm of 20-odd thousand.
$20,000. Well, I think the last one that I bought was like $7,000.
That's a good savings.
It did come with a torque tube for free, which is not free.
I think that's another 5,000.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes it even more. So I need effectively $30,000 worth of torque tubes and diffs on top of, you haven't even given me a real number on where we're at with the rest.
It is almost up to date if you'd like to see that.
I suppose we ought to go take a look.
Ooh, let's do it. So this is the green car. I've got most of it up to date so far. And we're at a current of $57,331.
As an estimate, or you've spent 57,000 of my dollars?
That's where we're at as of now. But there's more. The black car is doing a little better, but I think I'm missing a few things on here. We're at $53,425. But you see how many things are on this list?
That's a lot.
Look at all these labor lines.
I'm happy to fund your children's college, but that is not the intention at this juncture. Because this does not account for the parts that you've just told me to go find.
No. We can put your other clutch back in. It was still decent, right? That's $8,195 just for a clutch.
Now, Cameron, I appreciate that you would like to not have to come to work the rest of the year after you button these two cars up, but I also assume you might like some business to come through that camera lens and in through that front door here, which won't happen that often if I'm paying full boat dealer retail for all of these lovely repairs.
Well, dealer retail's still higher.
Okay. There's got to be a silver lining in here somewhere.
Yeah, well, like you said, we're going to get your starter rebuilt, so that 7,000 figure will come down. We got the OES, or original supplier spark plugs, instead of getting them from Lamborghini. Same with the coil packs and your brake pads. So there's lots of savings there that we haven't quite accounted for.
Okay, so it's like, giving them your Kroger Plus card at the end, and then it just all comes down, and rather than being $53,425.92, I'm going to give you $3 or $4 grand, a nice high five, and drive my car out of here.
I think we're a little far apart. We'll meet somewhere smack dab in the middle, right?
I like smack dab in the middle.
So obviously Cameron and his team at DC Motorworks have been hard at work, not just adding zeros to my bill, but actually turning these cars into something that's a little bit more mechanically dependable. And no, we're not going to end up paying $40,000 or $50,000 a car to get these things fixed. At the end of this, I will show you what this would have been at a full boat dealer, all new Lambo OEM parts price with their kind of labor rates, and it will be shocking. But of course, the way this stuff works is exactly like David Long, the car wizard, mentioned in our first episode with Cameron. You agree, we're going to do the right stuff. And at the end of it, I believe, because I know this from many, many past experiences, that Cameron's going to take good care of me and that the number will make sense. It's not going to be cheap, but at the end of the day, when you look at it on a per mile, per year, per ownership unit cost, it's really not that bad, particularly when I consider what it may cost me to keep this Bugatti Veyron on the road. But I am very excited to have the cars up, presentable, ready to go anywhere, even though I felt like they kind of already were, but they will at least be less excuses, if not no excuses.
So we finally got our replacement clutches that we weren't quite happy with what looked like some shipping damage on the original ones. So these are supposed to have been inspected as good. So we're going to do some unboxing videos here. You get to see all of our very exciting Lamborghini tape. And we'll see what these look like. Both of them look good, so finally get to proceed with the rest of the work. So we're gonna get back to valve adjusting, and we can get these things going.
This can.
They're now at the point where the engines are going to start to go back in the car. So they've done all they're probably going to do, barring any catastrophes between hoisting it here and putting it there. But I wanted to talk to Cameron today to just understand how necessary the inevitably huge bill that I'm going to receive is, based on the fact that I've had so many fairly trouble-free miles in these cars for so many years. So I said, look, I want you to run me through everything that you did and what the honest odds were that I was going to make it through my next trip or next journey based on the things that they've now learned were very, very wrong with each of the cars.
Mr. Bolian,
Hey.
you know we charge extra if you work on it yourself.
I know the look over your shoulder fee is certainly on the invoice, but I do appreciate all the hard work. So what I want to figure out, though, is how necessary was all of this?
You should have done this when you bought the car.
Well, I could barely afford the car when I bought it. I certainly haven't been able to afford it since then, and probably not today, but we'll find out later how much I've got to afford. But, like, what is the thing, as you've gone through it all, that was most likely to strand me or end up with a tow bill on my next drive?
The lovely coolant hose back here.
That looks nice and new.
Yeah, it's nice and shiny. It's got a little piece of tin foil on it.
Okay.
But that one had a nice split right down the clamp there that was just begging to explode.
And that's a big hose, so it would have put all my coolant out immediately.
In short order, yes.
Okay, so that's the most likely. Now, based on how bad it was, how likely was I to make it to my next destination?
You're probably flirting with 50-50.
Okay, all right, well, I mean, I live dangerously like that. So we had a 50% chance of making it with the coolant hose. All right, what other hose?
You had the power steering hose,
Okay,
which lives right here.
yep.
Lives above hot things and electrical things. Like
And
your
what was wrong with
alternator.
it?
It also had a split right down the clamp also. Thankfully not leaking.
But it was holding
It did.
for then, okay. And what are the odds of that making it?
You're probably 50-50 on that one. too.
Okay, so now we're at 25%. What's next?
You've got a starter.
Right, and it started. This one started better than that one.
This one did, but it is a common thing with Mercies, and you never know when that last click is going to be
And
today.
we've rebuilt that rather than bought a $4,000 one.
Yes.
Okay.
It's $7,003 from Lamborghini.
What?
And we had it rebuilt for about $350
Okay, that's a win. Excellent.
with Bosch parts.
With Bosch part. Okay,
So it is proper.
What were the odds my starter went out? Not that bad.
10.
10%.
10
Okay.
or less. You know,
All right.
You're pretty safe there.
I can take that.
With a gated car, you could have just pushed it.
Now
which
that-
we're no stranger to, right?
That howl that I was hearing from the middle of the car, that was, I presume, the torque tube bearing?
So you've got your torque tube bearing, which
Right.
lives in this general area.
Yes.
But you've also got the rear drive shaft, which has two bearings. And as I showed you before, the one that was not really bearing anymore
Yeah, it was okay.
was missing a few things.
And how bad was that?
That was very bad.
And so if that seized, I just lose all power?
You would have broken things.
Oh.
So something would have had to give, whether it was the rear diff, whether it was the PTO transfer case unit on the transmission. Something would have given.
And how bad was it worn out?
Like I said, there was half the bearings were gone.
So, like,
You were
All right,
like
well-
scattershotting BBs all over the ground.
okay, so my drive shaft bearing. What's my odds of making it there?
Well, who knows how long it was like that. So, 20?
20%. Oh, okay. That's
Like I say, if I could
meaningful.
predict the future, I'd be in a different business.
Okay. Well, the odds are not stacking up. Okay. But what about the front one was also in need of replacement, right?
It was grumbly and making some funny noises, yes.
Okay. So the torque tube bearing, how bad was it? Maybe we're
We're a little
over-
less. It still had bearings
I'm
in
going to
it.
say 75%. It was going to work.
You're pretty safe. It's just
Okay.
noisy. But again, that destroys some very expensive parts.
But this one was holding its fluids. So unlike the Diablo, So it was going to make it places, right?
Yeah, it was a little gross in this area. I went through a lot of brake clean.
Okay. Was it at any risk of oil starvation or letting it all go?
Yes, so at some point in its very well cared for life, these are your camshaft variator covers or upper covers, and these are your solenoids that actuate the variable valve timing. And there's a metal gasket that lives around here, but someone had decided to cover it in silicone. And there's little tiny oil ports that very easily could be clogged by silicone. And then you would be starving your cam variators or the solenoids for oil, and that would not work.
Okay, but that's not high odds. It's probably been that way for a long time. So better than 75.
You skated by, yeah. You did pretty good on that.
90% chance, I think. That's what that means. All right, of oil starvation.
Those are some real percentages you got.
That's right. We're doing some math. Okay, what else is going to ruin my day?
Your spark plugs were not exactly to spec. So you might have been kind of leaking some compression, had some weird misfires going on there. Like I said, I'm still just amazed that you didn't do this earlier.
Well,
Is there no signs?
I mean, yes, there were plenty of, yes, it ran like hot garbage a lot, but usually if you turn it off and back on again, it would heal itself.
Good old key cycle reset.
That's exactly right. Okay, so if I ran out of sparks, that was not high odds.
Yeah, the coil packs are a little gross too. We talked about that.
So, but I mean, so you're saying it would have gotten so bad that I would have had to stop driving it?
You might have been running on like 6 cylinders.
No, I know what that's.
If it went bad.
Okay, so at that, if it were, then all right, and the odds of that happening soon were.
We'll still stay around that 20%.
Okay.
You do like to drive it in the rain, though.
All right, so we're going to say 80% chance. I do like the rain. They're even better in the rain because people stay away from you. Now, what I really thought we were here to replace, because it was critically going to fail soon, was my clutch. But you've told me that my clutch was actually in quite good shape despite having tens of thousands of miles on it. So why was it slipping?
So rear main seal was quite wet with oil. Totally coated the inside of the bell housing. So again, more brake clean. But it's nice and clean and shiny now.
Okay, so, I mean, I was probably experiencing some level of clutch slippage a third of the times that I was driving it. So, but that wasn't, was it about to get worse?
It would only get worse as the fibers of the clutch absorb more.
All right, so we're going to stick with that being a 90% chance of success.
But what could have been detrimental is, I almost forgot, but the CV axle on the passenger side was quite loose.
How loose?
The bolts weren't tight at all.
But they were in?
Yeah, none of them went missing, so you had 6 chances of them staying connected.
That's better than the rest of my odds.
That is pretty good.
But
yeah.
how? All right, but it was about to break.
It could have come loose.
But that would that have been like an ambulance bill or a tow bill?
Depends on how fast you were going. Because if the axle came loose and the wheels were spinning, obviously, that would have gone flailing around the chassis of the car and the frame of the car. And
flailing around sounds problematic and expensive.
It could have gotten expensive.
All right, but I mean, how close was it?
Well, like I said, all 6 were in there, so you were doing pretty solid. I mean, you were
50%, absolutely 50%.
Yeah.
So it was a total coin toss to make it without my coolant hose exploding, 50-50, but down to 25% since the power steering might have exploded. The starter takes us down to 22.5, but the big one is down to 5% or so because the drive shaft bearing was going to stop me. But the front torque tube could go, and that's going to take us to, 3.5, 3.7%, closer to 3, closer to 2.5, closer to 2, and 1. 1% chance that my next journey was going to be problem-free.
I don't know how you did it, Ed.
Got every mile out of it. Okay, well, that's bad, but certainly the black car is better. Let's go look at it.
You have always told me that Mercies don't come in without being on a tow truck.
Were any of the filters really terrible?
Those engine filters were pretty awful. I haven't pulled the cabin filters yet. They're in the front.
Okay, but was the fuel filter really bad here?
Evan, did you see any nasty stuff coming out of them?
Yellow.
Yep.
And that's got a more grayish tinge.
It turned my fuel
gray.
gray.
Look at that one.
Yeah, so this one.
Grigio. Oh.
Yeah.
What?
So it's not supposed to be the color of your car. Yeah. not ideal. Fuel filters were a bit overdue. But we got new fuel filters in there for you.
So what happens when you reach the end of life of a fuel filter?
Fuel filter, I mean,
It just clogs, right?
it
So it
clogs.
just clogs and it won't, yeah. So
Yeah,
I've been through that on Cannonball cars. So, all right. So that would have stopped me to the point, and they're not convenient to clean out roadside. No. And you can't just hit it with a hammer, which
Not
we've done
quite.
to many a fuel filter on cross country.
Just got to loosen up the debris in there. That's
Yeah,
all.
you know. Okay. That's really dirty. Okay. So the fuel filters were probably I was in a 25% chance of making it to my next thing.
Let's go with a 20%.
20% chance with the fuel. Okay. Well, that's starting real bad. 20% chance on the fuel filters. What's next? Obviously my detonating front differential would have been quite problematic. I mean, I would have had 2 more wheels to drive with, but the noise that I experienced when it failed on that one was meaningful enough that it did involve a tow bill.
Yeah, that would definitely scare you if you start hearing those noises.
But we were still probably a 75% chance of making it to the next
Yeah,
destination.
you would have made it with that one.
All right. How were the hoses on this bad boy?
Marginally better than the green car.
Okay, so let's say power steering, 90% chance of success.
Yeah, you were pretty good on that one.
All right, cool.
It's more the cooling hoses.
Big
that,
exploding coolant hose, was it a little worse?
Yeah, they're all very crunchy.
I'm going 80%. This one, though, I mean, apart from a lot of things that were deferred, is pretty okay.
Yeah, this one was great. I mean, for the most part, the
Great.
clutch was pretty heat scorched.
Okay, so yeah, that one, my clutch wasn't going to do it. Was the rear main okay here?
Yeah, this one's good, but you got a new one anyway.
Well, yes, because while we're in there, why not? All right, so the clutch hit here, though, it wasn't that bad. We're going to go 90%. But relative to that car, this thing mint.
Yes, this is like showroom in comparison.
So we had a 20% chance of making it with the most problematic issue, the fuel filters. Get down to 15% with the front diff exploding. Down to 13.5, down to 10, 9% chance of making it somewhere in this car. That feels like this is the one I should have been
Single
relying
digits.
on. Man, 9%. Whew, okay, so again, it was definitely time.
I think your chances of getting rained on were higher.
I did get rained on in that car a good bit. But, you know, you get to feel the wind in your hair and see over the windshield and all the fun things that come with roadster life. I know these have been taking up most of your time, so we haven't done a whole lot of Diablo fixing yet, have we?
No, it's coming.
I bet it's dripping oil on that Mercedes.
But we have drip trays for that.
Oh,
so
good.
it is
Good.
safe.
Excellent. Good for the Mercedes. I see we've got the wing off to get painted a more proper matte black. Mostly it was just oil. I mean, this car went places. I mean, it was not going to start and stuff like that, but that was mostly just electronics. So we'll talk more about this car another day. And I guess now the engines go back in, and then you give me some really bad news, and I call Premier Financial Services for some support to write you a big check.
We do have some news about the bill.
Oh, and what is that?
We'll talk about it. It's actually good news.
Good news I like good news about bills.
Yes.
That doesn't tend to happen in my life, but I appreciate everything, and it seems like I got here just in time.
Yes.
It's amazing to have Cameron and the DC Motorworks team just a few miles down the road from me, but no matter where you're at, he can get your car shipped here so that whatever it needs, it can be done. These days, especially as these cars age, dealership expertise is waning fast, and so their ability to go through, source crossover parts, find used parts, and really get you the best value and the best outcome possible with the expertise to back it up is why I trust DC Motorworks with all my cars.
Let's go forward, son. Start dropping.
All right, go for it.
Ate lunch in a Bugatti, and I'm standing in a Mercy. I think we're fine. Would you like a hand, darling?
Oh, I got it. Oh, thank you, sir. Oh. Just relaxing here underneath the Murcielago. It's wonderful. Never better.
All right, another pump. Engine now. Yes, finally.
Today we are on day month of Lambo lunacy. And today we should be starting at least the green car. We're most of the way there to at least we can do a test start and get everything back together. So hope you all enjoy watching. We're gonna do some work and give you some updates along the way, so stay tuned. Thirsty cameraman?
Yeah, I've settled in nicely. Trunk monkey.
This is always the scary part. All right, we ready?
Yep.
Good. Sounds healthy. It does. Real smooth, happy. The weight has been lifted. That's the result we want. So currently we are going to start putting the exhaust back in because now that it runs, we know we are safe to continue going back together 100%. And yeah, everything else looks good. So we're going to carry on.
Well, at long last, the 3 Lambos are finished and they are back in my driveway. So we're gonna walk through everything that Cameron did, or at least as much as we can talk about in a short video here, on each of the cars, because it was extensive. But honestly, it only took, what, 2 months?
Only?
You said a month. I was just hoping it was less than 6.
He was right.
I mean, what was ballpark total hours of labor in all 3 cars?
There's probably 150, 200 hours between everything. Some we didn't end up counting, but...
Well, and I appreciate that, the occasional bonus hour for free. But I guess let's start with what I'm going to assume was the lowest bill. What did you do to my Diablo?
Well, which one do you think is the worst?
I mean, that one was running the worst by far, but we did have to do the diff on that one. So it's a coin toss, but I'm sure there will be some very bad news very soon. But I do see immediately that my turn signals are in the right place.
Yes, you are accurate to
inverted, and you got my wing painted the right color, which I very much like. All right, and my bill.
Yes,
Okay.
these are the important things.
All right, this is the most important thing to me. Will this make it not leak so much oil?
Not as much.
Okay. I can take some, but it was leaking sort of a lot.
Yes.
I don't see any drops
So
now.
far, so good. Yeah, before it would leave drops wherever it went, and
Wherever.
we have minimized that.
That's it. No trail of breadcrumbs back to DC Motor Works. Removed excess wiring.
There was lots of that.
Is that what that bag is?
Yes, that's the bag. That's your goodie bag.
This is 5 pounds.
It's significant.
Of wires. This was all in my car?
Yes, scattered about in various
So this
locations.
is what it takes to power all those lights that made it look so Yakuza awesome.
Yes, and TVs and whatever else is in your spaghetti there.
Engineer new inner door release. I didn't know you were an engineer, but I was in a predicament because neither of the interior door latches would work, and so I had to leave the windows down so that I could reach outside to the external one. So I got F40 loops.
Yeah.
Look at me. Oh, that's amazing. Oh, look at that. It just comes right up. That's amazing.
Better than new, right?
And it matches my rhinestone shifter.
Yeah, we wanted to make sure the red theme was continued.
Yeah, which makes so much sense, especially now that it's orange. So that one was, not an easy one to swallow, but I think far easier than the others at $24.54, less than $2,500, and I have a considerably more functional and legal Diablo.
That's
so
about the same as if we just bought one factory door handle.
that's very, very true. Yeah, so in this case, if we were going in and paying dealer labor rates, having to buy new parts, that would have been, easily 10, 15 grand.
Oh, yeah.
So what a savings. Now you're gonna have to tell me which one was worse, because I still think, as bad as that car was in every possible way, and all the things that we ran into, it's gotta be that one, right?
No. By a slim margin.
So this one was the most expensive, the spray
Yes.
paint car. Okay, all right, well then let's go through this one. Let's go through the bill of the things that you did.
There were surprises on both of them, which
That's
you're aware
true.
of.
I am. Holy cow.
Yeah, the list just keeps going.
How many pages?
4.
4 pages of little text.
Yes.
All right, so this is all essentially the major service that we're starting. So clutch, throwout bearing, AC compressor, starter, which we had rebuilt. Thank you very much.
Saved you a lot of money there.
And, all of the consumable service items. Tensioners?
While you're in there was the theme.
Yes, a lot of while you're in there. So, so just the planned stuff, $49,380?
Retail.
So we're at effectively your retail. So if somebody just dropped the car off, said you fixed, so we're going to be able to.
We might have some wiggle room, but this is all factory parts, retail.
Understood. Okay. All right. So, and we, found some crossover parts. We found some used parts. We found some things. Okay. So then we had the check engine light that came on for oxygen sensors after they all went back together. Cam variator solenoids leaking oil. I did see that leak was substantial. Not too bad. $847 for that. The brake pads were noisy. Yes, they very much were. And I don't really know why. When you got them out, did they look bad?
No.
But for some reason, it was always a very crunchy noise whenever my son would ride in, and he'd be like, Dad, why does it sound so broken? I'm like, well, it is broken, son. But it was, so we got new ceramic pads, which are not cheap. $25.94, but it radically changes the way the car stops and sounds, and so my son will appreciate it. A new battery for $540. Interstate?
You bet.
Excellent.
Green top.
Airbag light was on, yes, for the clock spring. That does tend to happen. I think we had that in both cars, if I'm not mistaken. And you fixed my headlight.
Yes.
Oh,
after 5 long years, right?
Whenever I would go over a bump, I actually got pulled over for the headlight being out on the way home from Scottsdale after it got painted, and I never fixed it until today, but $1,000 later. A new key. I now have 2 keys for this car. I might have 2 keys for the red car soon. And the steering wheel is matted. So those steering wheels, $5,800.
Yeah, they're real proud of those.
That was something I was really excited about. I've got now my perforated leather steering wheel with the carbon fiber to match, and so. Again, something I felt like the car deserved. I don't know if it deserved it that much.
Well, that's what you touch all the time.
Yes, and we had some missing firewall panels from previous aftermarket radio things that have been missing for 5 years, and that was $2,500. But well, we got those used though,
yes.
So it wouldn't be that much. steering column surround was falling off.
Yes,
You didn't like
your,
my
your painter's tape
solution.
was not doing it.
$684 for that. The radio was missing. That is $3,500 from
For
the
a new
factory.
one, yes.
All right, well, we got a used one off eBay for that, so that goes down. And the active spoiler binds, yes, it did. And occasionally, as you notice, the wing would stay up after turning off. So you've addressed all of that. Cameron,
I'm gonna hold you up.
$75,000
Retail,
for just
yeah.
this one?
Just one, yeah.
And that's at your labor rate. So if which is $225. If we were at a dealer labor rate of $350, that would add $8,000 more dollars.
Just in labor.
And if I was paying the normal parts markup, which they mark up everything at a different rate, but generally is about 20%, that goes another 10.
Yeah.
So it would have been $92,000.
So a little over 20 grand more than my retail rate before all your savings.
Okay. Well, we're going to have to do some slashing here. And I know that's not all exactly what went on the car. So we'd be in the mid-90s at a dealership for everything. Okay. And in the mid-70s for you. And we're going to make it less. Okay. Which means this is worse?
Like I said, slim margin when you're talking about numbers like this.
So we start at the same kind of 50 grand estimate for everything that we did. A little less on the Roadster. Easy access?
No.
No. Okay. Remove miscellaneous wires, aftermarket switches, and things. Thank you. I appreciated that.
They
It
were
was not
plentiful.
this much, though.
It's pretty close. Pretty close.
There was a lot in there, but it's now gone. Driver's door speaker was very, very noisy, and you just fixed it. It was
included with all your wiring, so that was the reason. All the loose wiring and connectors, and I tell you, it was a mess in there. But that fixed 2 problems, so you got one for free.
Buy one, get one at DC Motor Works. But it was not buy one, get one free airbag light. $2,200 to turn my airbag light off?
Yeah, they're real proud of those clock springs.
Goodness gracious. Okay.
And it is from Alfa Romeo.
Diagnose my TPMS fault, 0, because you didn't do it?
No.
Oh,
well, you can't communicate with the car.
Okay, well, and you just don't know its love language. It's cheap is the love language, in case you were wondering. New AC compressor on this one as well, $4,500.
There was a hose on that one too that I didn't put on there.
You got my side marker lights.
Yeah.
These have just been wrapped over.
No more squishy
time.
holes.
Yeah. So yes, that's it. What were they off of?
They are off a Cadillac Catera.
All right, so Cadillac Catera lights installed, but still $498. I see. Goodness, are they new Cadillac Catera lights?
No, they were used. I don't know if Cadillac has those anymore.
No, they don't make Cateras
And I did
anymore.
not ask Lamborghini if they still had them.
And my spoiler motor was totally not even mounted, and so you've reinstalled that for $912. And of course, my differential failed, which would have been $15,000
for the part.
For the part. Holy cow. Okay, well, we got used one for $6.
Yeah, we saved you a lot of money.
So we saved some money there, but holy cow, another new battery, Interstate. What?
I told you, slim margin. Slim.
$90,000.
Well, when you're talking about this much.
Okay. And once again, we didn't do all of those things exactly. We did some crossover parts, so it's not going to be $90,000. But if it had been at a dealer, we'd add about 20 more.
I'm building value here, building value.
So with a 20% parts markup and a higher hourly rate. So $110,000 retail dollars to fix that car.
You said it's the worst one.
Holy cow. So 110, we'll say 15 at the dealer, and 95 is 220,000 bucks. Did I just do that right? $220,000 worth of work you just did?
It's more than you paid for some of these, right?
Yes, absolutely. Now, the negotiation.
Ooh.
Well, so
I'm not at my home field advantage here.
No, and that might be why they're already here. So we said to do everything at a dealership would be like 110, 95, and 15, give or take. So that's $220,000 of work that I have received, and I am very, very pleased with that because for the first time ever, these cars really don't need that much. I mean, honestly, the Draco car is a new windshield, because the aftermarket one's got some waves in it,
yeah.
away from being like proper nice, which a proper nice manual LP640 coupe now is 1.25, give or take.
There's worth something there too.
I mean, maybe not with 55,000 miles and a repaint, but hey, there is some good ROI on this work that we have done. And this one, I mean, obviously is still a cosmetic wreck, but it's going to the Savoy Auto Museum very soon to be displayed along other prominent supercars. So that's going to be amazing. So your rates for all three are give or take 150 at walk-in retail. We've used a lot of cross-reference parts. We've sourced a lot of used parts. We've rebuilt a bunch of stuff. So that's got to save me, what, 20 a car?
Just about. It was just a tad over 20.
Okay, so that puts us around 110. And you may recall, we did not film this conversation, but as we began this process, I said, you know, it would be awfully nice if there were only 5 numbers before the period at the end of this experience, because I have already had to sell the other Lamborghini in order to pay this. So,
what are you trying to say, Ed?
Did we get there?
Well, I can adjust my labor rate because I did all the labor on the green car, so I don't have to pay one of my guys to do that. That was all me.
Well, thank you.
So I'll give you a little credit there, but I need some extra time with the Roadster.
Well, we have also potentially found another project manual Roadster, right? So
we
maybe,
like projects.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit of a break after these, but...
Well, it's not in the country yet.
Oh, well, that gives us some time.
Okay, so maybe we do that, and we meet right smack dab in the middle at 99999.
Let's get that project, and then I think we can make that happen.
My man. Well, I think you have officially earned your Lamborghini Master Black Belt.
Did you get me one?
It's in the mail.
Oh, okay. The VinWiki headquarters as we are closing out the Lamborghini series here with Mr. Bolian. It has been a little while that we have given the Lamborghinis back to Ed to drive some and enjoy, and we're going to see what his thoughts are today. Mr. Ed.
Yes, sir.
Come on down to your own garage.
Well, it's awfully a lot nicer now that the cars are home.
I know, you're filling up some spaces. It must have felt pretty empty in here for a while.
It did. We had room to move, but I'm so glad that they're back, and they are driving great.
Good, yeah, you've had them back for a while. You got to put a few miles on them, I hope.
I mean, the concern whenever you're doing this amount of work on a car that generally worked beforehand is that you're not going to appreciate the margin of improvement. And I can say those fears have been quenched. This one in particular is a totally new car. It's so much smoother, shifts so much better, it sounds so much better, it idles so much better. Everything is wildly better. And the Roadster, I seriously think it has another 100 horsepower.
That's amazing. That is one of the fights in our industry. I mean, I always tell people the biggest things are like engine mounts and tires. It is always kind of tough giving people that value of what they're getting because they're like, I drove it there, I drove it back.
Yes.
So it is nice to see that you appreciate that because these were quite the labor of love.
And they were quite the labor, I saw. I appreciate you dropping the invoices off.
I see they're kind of hanging out with your liquor collection.
A bit, yes. Yeah, that's right. But
wasn't that bad, was it?
You know, everything helps to cope. But well, you know, we talked a lot about kind of the variation of different approaches that an owner of one of these cars might take, from taking it to a dealer, dropping it off, just say, call me when it's done, it'll cost what it costs, to, you know, what corners can we cut? And I appreciate that you were willing to cut some corners, many of which were not reflected in those invoices. And so I appreciated that we were able to get, you know, to something a little bit more palatable. Selling one Lamborghini to make the other 3 better, I feel good about the trade-off.
Yeah, I mean, have you lost some of that or gained some mechanical sympathy now that they're more or less perfect?
I find myself being a lot more trepidatious and then realize, wait a minute, no, I can push this thing, I can lean into it, use it all. And so it's been very, very nice to be able to use all the revs, push it, go fast, have fun, and they have rewarded me for it.
I know. It is a real labor of love for these for me. You know, they say don't meet your heroes, but I guess it's kind of one of the benefits of being independent is you find that relationship with someone that has a passion for the cars. You're not just customer number 123, Ed Bolian, bringing your car into the dealer. And I know we've kind of worked up to that for the last few years.
That's it. And that's where it's so necessary with some of these cars where the expertise is waning and the people that know everything are retiring or they're just no longer with us. And so, you know, it can be hard to own some cars like the red one when you don't know what's going to happen if things go really, really badly. Being able to have you kind of come up through the belts and the ranks and the expertise.
Forgot my belt.
Yeah, I'm surprised you don't sleep in it. But you know, the fact that now I've got someone who I can depend on, honestly grants me maybe a little bit of license to push them a little harder, because that was the initial alarming thing. Because if it hadn't been for over the last few years, you doing more Lambo work and really getting into a position where you were comfortable with them, and I was comfortable with you taking them that far apart, then I would have probably kicked the can down the road for another 6, 12, 18 months. And I certainly wouldn't have done all three at the same time. And learning exactly how close we were to things going really, really badly was a little scary.
Your days were numbered.
But now you're close, it's easy, you're gonna see them every so often. Yeah, I think we can push it. And I honestly think, I mean, they should be ready for another 50,000 miles each.
Yes, I hope you do drive them that much. Or maybe I can pry them away from you every once in a while and enjoy them for a little while.
Thank you very, very much. And I'm glad we could make it work. You know, a lot of the people in the VinWiki video about the numbers and the bill and everything like that, you know, they were like, you know, would you have been better off, Ed, to have started with a nicer car? And there's an argument to be made. Now, at any moment when I bought all these cars, whether it's 5 years ago, 3 years ago for the black one, last year for that, I wasn't in a position to buy a nice one. I could only afford, with Premier Financial's help, to buy the worst one. Yeah. And I think that when you contemplate it in that regard, well, that doesn't make it's right. It just means it was necessary. But, you know, even with, you know, adding another 30, 50, 100,000 to each car, I was paying less than half of what these cars would have been nice. And I've been able to kind of ride the waves of value. And I think I'm still very, very much to the good. So, you know, I think if you have the right relationship with a mechanic and the right shop, you can buy cars rougher as projects and collectively, or mostly you doing it, make them useful.
Yeah. So you've added value to the price of the car if you were to think about selling it also. So you win on both ends.
I think you might have won a little more on this one, but I'm very, very happy with my side of it as well.
I don't think your bank account is as red as the Bugatti yet.
No, but we certainly moved in that direction this week.
Yeah, so can we move in the direction of getting one for me now? Because that's the goal. That's why I'm doing this, is because I fell in love with them after I got to experience the first one, and Ed was right. It's not a don't meet your heroes kind of moment. They are that good.
Are you sad to be returning to a shop full of Mercedeses?
A little bit. I still love them, and that is, you know, the whole reason I got in this business is because I have a passion for the cars.
Yep.
And, you know, this is no different, and I just want it to grow and do more. And, but that's kind of the benefit, is that with doing this with you, we are getting all kind of phone calls about Lamborghinis.
There we go.
We acquired a Huracan, a Diablo, a couple Mercies in the pipeline, so things are rolling.
Wow. Well, I mean, I hoped it would pay off at some point, but that's a quicker turnaround than I was maybe expecting. How many Lambo jobs do you think you've booked because of this series?
We're at about a dozen so far.
Holy cow, look at that. Wow, I think I'm gonna need a little bit of a sharper pencil on that.
Pinch myself a little bit.
You are now truly the Lambo master. So tune in more to DC Motorworks. You'll see more Lamborghinis showing up in their videos. Hopefully not mine boomeranging back after things break again. That's always the worst nightmare on either side of a repair order. But I cannot thank you enough, Cameron, and a whole team at DC, and you guys for watching that help motivate him to help me and make these things as good as they can get. And once again, we'd like to thank Bridgestone for their support of the VinWiki channel this year and on into 2025. We love their Potenza range of tires for sports cars and supercars, but I'm most excited right now about their Dueler Ascent, the new all-terrain tire that they're releasing that is going to be the perfect upgrade for roadworthiness on my Cayenne, but while I still maintain all of the off-road capability. So I'll talk more about those tires this month, but thank them for their support of VinWiki by clicking on the link in the description right now to learn more about the Bridgestone range of tires.